The thrilling conclusion to the saga of Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yehoshua works itself over into the next page of the Gemara 28. Fascinating story. Let's hop right in. When we last left our heroes, they just decided to go and appoint someone else as the prince of the academy, as the Nasi, because they were sick of Rabbi Gamliel harassing Rabbi Yehoshua. What's the word they use for him? Afflicting Rabbi Yehoshua. So they went and appointed Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, this young man who had the three requisite traits. He came from good blood. He was the 10th generation of Ezra himself. He had money, and he was wise. Okay, so they went and appointed. They went and asked Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, "You willing to come be the prince?" And he said, "I will consult with my household." So he went home and asked his wife, "What do you reckon?" She said, "Yeah, well, maybe they'll remove you from office." He said, drink from an expensive goblet one day and let it be broken tomorrow. Like if you get an opportunity, you take it, and you don't worry about maybe later on the opportunity will go away from you. It's a good life lesson. But she said to him, "But you have no white. There is no white in your beard. They will not respect you." I believe Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was 18 at the time. That day he was 18 years old, yeah. And a miracle occurred for him, and he received 18 streaks of white hair in his beard. And I think this is really interesting because, it's a point that's been made that modern culture is obsessed with youth and beauty, much to the cost of age and wisdom. And I think this is a gorgeous illustration of the reverse being the case, that people having anxiety that they don't look old enough to be respected. So that's an interesting one. So it was taught on that day. They dismissed the guard at the door, and permission was granted to the students to enter. So until then, Rabbi Gamliel had said that no one enter except for those who's outside as they're inside. So people who have learning and who have good traits. He's very selective about who got into the academy. And from that moment on, they opened the doors of the academy. Far more people came in. Some people say there were 400. I think Rabbi Yochanan said, Rabbi Yosef ben Dostai and the rabbis disputed this matter. One of them said 400 new benches were added that day to the academy, and the other said 700 benches were added to the academy that day. And because of the great influx of students, the great abundance of learning, there was a whole lot of issues that had previously stood, and people couldn't solve them, suddenly were solved. In fact, it says there's no halakha's ruling was pending in the study hall that they did not explain. And what does it say? And even Rabbi Gamliel did not avoid the study hall for even one moment, which is incredible, because the guy's just been deposed as the prince of the academy. That doesn't keep him away. He wants to be here, so he's here. He's learning. So then we've got this other thing comes in, which is like Rabbi Gamliel was disheartened because he's like, well, maybe we missed out on a whole lot of learning because of my selective policies. So in a dream, he was shown a vision of jugs of white ash, as if to indicate that all the new people who are added are like worthless idlers. And the Gemara says that wasn't the case, but this dream was shown to Rabbi Gamliel to comfort him. Again, what do we make of this? My father actually has a good talk on this matter about how heaven could lie to Rabbi Gamliel to comfort him. Which doesn't seem the sort of thing that's instantly permissible or likely. Okay, on that day, Yehuda, the Ammonite convert, came before the academy and it's like, what's the deal? Can I enter the congregation? And Rabbi Gamliel, who's now no longer the prince and is just acting as a sage, he said, "You're forbidden to enter the congregation." And Rabbi Yehoshua said, "You're permitted." So Rabbi Gamliel says, of course, I already stated, this is a verse from the Torah, an Ammonite and a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to the 10th generation shall none of them enter into the congregation of the Lord forever. So that's, how can you permit it? And Rabbi Yehoshua said, do Ammon and Moab reside in that place? Sennacherib already came and scrambled all the nations. As it is said, I removed the bounds of the people and have robbed their treasures and brought down as one mighty the inhabitants. And anything that parts from the majority. So even if there are a few ethnic Ammonites lying around, we assume that most people there are from the nations that Sennacherib rotated into the area when he was maneuvering his subjects after conquest. Apparently this is a common thing, that it's not only the Assyrians who did this, although the Assyrians are known for it, but an imperial power, upon conquering a series of nations, will often rotate the members of those nations so that they're away from their lands and therefore less likely to rebel. Okay, and so Rabbi Gamliel says, but wasn't it already stated? But afterward I will bring back the captivity of the children of Ammon, says the Lord, Yirmiyahu, and they have already returned. He says, well, maybe the Ammonites have come back, and then it's actually those people are Ammonites. Rabbi Yehoshua said, that's no proof. Wasn't it already stated? And I will turn the captivity of my people Israel. And the verse goes on, and they shall build away cities and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and drink the wine thereof. They shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them. So it's a messianic prophecy, and they have not yet returned. Continues Rabbi Yehoshua. So just sure, there's a verse that says the Ammonites will come back. There's also a verse that says the children of Israel will come back, and just like we haven't yet, probably they haven't yet. No reason to think they've returned. They immediately permitted him to enter the congregation. So they let this Yehuda the Ammonite convert come into the congregation to marry a Jewish woman, essentially. Rabbi Gamliel said to himself, since this is the situation, I will go and appease Rabbi Yehoshua. I think that means that since it was given to him to win this little dispute in the academy, clearly the mandate of heaven is with him, and he's right and I'm wrong. I should go and appease him. So he goes to Rabbi Yeshua's house. He sees that the walls of the house are black, and he says to him, from the walls of your house, it is apparent that you are a blacksmith, which is something that obviously Rabbi Gamliel didn't know until that moment. Rabbi Yehoshua said to him, woe unto a generation that you are its leader, as you are unaware of the difficulties of Torah scholars, how they make a living and how they feed themselves. Rabbi Gamliel said to him, I insulted you, forgive me. Rabbi Yehoshua paid no attention to him, didn't forgive him. Rabbi Gamliel said, do it in deference to my father. Oh, great Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. And Rabbi Yehoshua was appeased. Good. So now that Rabbi Yehoshua is no longer offended, they figure, well, Rabbi Gamliel can go back to being prince. So they said, who will go and inform the sages? And it says this launderer said to them, so I think like a laundry boy said, I'll go. They went. Rabbi Yehoshua sent him to the study hall, saying, the one who wears the uniform will continue to wear the uniform. And the one who did not wear the uniform will not say to the one who wears the uniform, remove your uniform and I will wear it. That's a little hint saying, this guy's still the prince. But it seems that they believed that Rabbi Gamliel had sent this messenger as a little ploy. So Rabbi Akiva said to the sages, lock the gates so that Rabbi Gamliel's servants will not come and disturb the sages. Rabbi Yehoshua said, it is best if I go to them. He came and knocked on the door. He said to them, one who sprinkles, son of one who sprinkles, shall continue to sprinkle. Reference to, I think, the Kohanim, the priests in the temple who sprinkle the ashes of the red heifer. So there's a tradition, I think, that someone who does it, his father did it before him, he has a certain strength in continuing to do it. And neither one and the son of the one who sprinkles it, and he who is not one who sprinkles, nor is he the son of one who sprinkles, he should not say to the one who sprinkles, who is the son of one who sprinkles, your water is cave water. Your water is not the right water, and your ashes are burnt ashes, not the right ashes. So he's saying that the guy who has the precedent of a leading, and I think his father was the leader before him, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, he should continue to lead. And so Rabbi Yehoshua came and delivered this one person. Rabbi Akiva said to him, Rabbi Yehoshua, have you been appeased? Everything we did was to your honor. early tomorrow, you and I will go to his doorway and we'll ask him to be the prince again. The question came up, what do we do about Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah? They said, what can we do? Remove him? But we learned that one who elevates to sanctity one elevates and does not downgrade. You can't just fire him again. It's not right. So they said, let one sage lecture 1 week and the other sage lecture the other week. But if we do that, they'll come to be jealous of each other. Rather, Rabban Gamliel will lecture for 3 weeks, and Elazar ben Azariah for 1 week. And that is where we get this expression from the tractate Chagiga. Whose week was it? The week of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. It's like 1 in every 4 weeks Rabbi Elazar would lecture. So, to follow the metaphor of earlier, the expensive vessel wasn't shattered, it was just downgraded to a smaller, expensive vessel. One final detail of this story that wraps up this tale. That student who asked the original question sparked this whole big balagan. That was Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, great and famous mystic sage. So the question is, do you know what he was doing? What's going on there? Doesn't seem like the sort of guy to just throw the cat among the pigeons by accident. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Perhaps there was something in it. Perhaps the whole thing was a disciplinary lesson for Rabbi Gamliel, because Rabbi Gamliel had been harassing Rabbi Yehoshua beforehand. As they said, how long will he continue to afflict him? So there are other stories, other gorgeous stories that I'm sure will come to, God willing, in good time, about disputes between them where Rabbi Gamliel really pressed on Rabbi Yehoshua. So maybe all that Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai did was bring the whole issue to a head and force Rabbi Gamliel out into the open, and then go through this whole process in a way that taught Rabbi Gamliel a valuable lesson, perhaps. Could be. I don't know. Could be that it was really important from Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah to be lecturing 1 week before. Could be random, but I think that's less likely. Also, why would they include that note at the end? One other thing that I find really interesting about this, and I think we'll wrap up on this. Rabbi Akiva, you get the sense of his genius and his prowess throughout the Talmud, but maybe there's nowhere more clear than here just how great he was, because when originally Rabbi Gamliel is deposed, that they go through they consider 3 people for the position, and the first person is Rabbi Yehoshua, and they say, well, we can't put him in the position because he's involved in the dispute. Fine. The second person is Rabbi Akiva, and then they say we can't put him in the position because he doesn't have righteous ancestors. Fine. And then they go through Rabbi Elazar. So the fact that he's considered for the post for the top job, he's one of a very, very select group of candidates considered. That's interesting. And then the fact that he's giving orders, lock the gates. Rabbi Gamliel is sending messengers to set us. Seemingly his orders fulfilled. That's interesting. And finally, when Rabbi Yehoshua comes himself and says, no, I've sorted things out with Rabbi Gamliel, we're good, he can be prince again. It's Rabbi Akiva who receives him and says, tomorrow you and I, meaning Rabbi Yehoshua and Rabbi Akiva, will go to the gates of Rabbi Gamliel and ask him to return to us as prince. So it seems like he's Rabbi Akiva's like majority leader maybe, or he's the sort of charismatic center of the academy, even if he's not officially its prince, which is incredible, really, very, very beautiful. I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this one for now. Of course, there's much more to say, but the day is short and the work is long. All right. Many blessings.